If we go through the pollock, the next choice is probably going to be tilapia. The tilapia is one of those fish nobody ever heard of 20 years ago. It's actually a very efficient converter of plant protein into animal protein, and it's been a godsend to the third world. It's actually a tremendously sustainable solution. It goes from an egg to an adult in 9 months. The problem is that when you look at about the West, it doesn't do what the West wants to do. It really doesn't have what's called an oily fish profile. It doesn't have the EPA and DHA omega-3s that we all think are going to make us live forever. So what do we do? I mean, first of all, what about this poor fish, the clupids, the fish that represent a huge part of that 20 to 30 million metric tons? Well, one possibility that a lot of conservationists have raised is, could we eat them? Could we eat them directly instead of feeding them to salmon? There are arguments for it. They are tremendously fuel efficient to bring to market, a fraction of the fuel cost of, say, shrimp, and at the very top of the carbon efficiency scale. They also are omega-3 rich, a great source for EPA and DHA. So that is a potential. And if we are going to go down that route, what I would say is, instead of paying a few bucks a pound or a few bucks a ton, really, and making it into aqua feed, could we help the catch and double the price for the fishermen and make that our way of treating this particular fish? Other possibility, though, which is much more interesting, is looking at bivalves, particularly mussels. Now, mussels are very high in EPA and DHA. They are similar to canned tuna. They're also extreme fuel efficient. To bring a pound of mussels to market is about 1/30 of the carbon as required to bring beef to market. They are required to forage fish. They could actually get their omega-3s by filtering the water of microalgae. In fact, it's where omega-3s come from. They don't come from fish. Microalgae make the omega-3s. They're only concentrated in fish. Mussels and other bivalves do tremendous amounts of water filtration. A single mussel can filter dozens of gallons every single day, and this is incredibly important when we look at the world. Right now, nitrification, overuse of sulfates in our waterways are causing tremendous algal blooms. Over 400 new dead zones have been created in the last 20 years. Tremendous sources of marine life dead. We also could look at not a fish at all. We could look at a vegetable. We could look at seaweed, the kelps, all these different varieties of things that can be high in omega-3s, can be high in proteins, tremendously good things. They filter the water just like mussels do. And weirdly enough, it turns out that you can actually feed this to cows. Now, I'm not being a fan of cattle, but if you wanted to keep growing cattle in a time and place where water resources are limited, you are growing seaweed in the water. You don't have to water it. Major consideration. And the last fish is a question mark. We have the ability to create aquacultured fish that creates a net gain of marine protein for us. This creature would have to be vegetarian. It would have to be fast growing. It would have to be adaptable to a changing climate, and it would have to have that oily fish profile, that EPA, DHA, omega-3 fatty acid profile that we're looking for. This exists kind of on paper. I have been reporting on these subjects for 15 years. Every time I do a news story, somebody tells me, we can do all that. We can do it. We figure it out. We can produce a fish that's a net gain of marine protein and has omega-3s. Great. It doesn't seem to be getting scaled up. It's time to scale scale this up. If we do 30 million metric tons of seafood, a third of the world catch stays in the water. So I guess what I'm saying is that this is what we've been going with. We tend to go with our appetites rather than our minds. But if we went with this, or some configuration of it, we might have a little more of this. Thank you. Applause.